Hello, thank you for joining today. I'm going to be talking to one of our OTD students, Kaylin, about her social media project and a little bit about her upcoming capstone project. So, Kaylin, thank you for coming. Can you introduce yourself, maybe talk about when you'll graduate, what kind of practice settings you're thinking about, or what are your OT interests?
Okay, my name's Kaylin Muck. I am currently a third semester student in the OT program, and I will graduate in May of 2027 with my doctoral degree. As of now, I'm thinking peds. My dream would be NICU, but I've heard, and I might be wrong, that that's not really an entry level position. So I'd probably start out in like early intervention or school-based, but for the past year, I've been kind of back and forth between peds and adults, so I guess we'll see where I end up.
So, open future, lots
Yeah.
of possibilities. Love that. Um, okay, so you finished your third semester. Finals just got done, so congratulations on that. Um, in your community advocacy and leadership class this semester, you explored an occupational injustice and then created a social media campaign to kind of spread awareness and hopefully promote some action about an issue that you found from current events. Tell us a little bit about what was your topic and what sparked your interest in that topic area.
Okay, so my occupational injustice I focused on was workplace discrimination against cancer survivors. So this includes like job loss, those lack of accommodations, the stigma, and those unequal opportunities when returning to work after treatment or even in the middle of treatment. And I kind of just became interested in this topic through my capstone planning, which is at the Sheboygan County Cancer Care Fund. And just learning more about that cancer survivorship made me realize how great like return to work challenges are and how they can affect identity, that financial stability, social connection, and overall health, which I feel are all core areas of occupation. So once I started like reading on survivor stories and doing my research, I couldn't like ignore how big this
Yeah.
issue is.
Yeah, amazing. I think this is such an interesting kind of, I think we hear about workplace discrimination for a lot of different populations, but this might be a new population for people to think about how this impacts specifically individuals post cancer diagnosis. So, how are you connecting kind of occupational therapy to this? What are there certain populations within cancer diagnoses that you see more impacted? Um, I guess talk a little bit more about that. Like, what are some of the specifics that you found?
Well, some of the specifics I found that 41% of survivors lose their jobs after diagnosis and 56% experience financial hardship. And in terms of population, I would say the most affected would be probably just those that are currently in treatment because they're also dealing with paying the bills currently and dealing with more of those cancer related side effects.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How do you see OT being able to help in this area?
I see OT being able to help with like that return to work planning, and we can also like have those conversations with people that may be like hard conversations they're scared to have with their employer, like asking for accommodation. So kind of also instilling that self-advocacy within clients, which I think is a cool part of our area of
Mm-hmm.
work because not only do we get to advocate for our clients, but we can also teach them to advocate for themselves.
Yeah, awesome. So, would you see primarily OTs working in like outpatient and cancer specific settings would be the ones who could be most influential for this area?
Yeah, just because they'll be like more in contact with the
Mm-hmm.
survivors and those going through it.
Okay. Um, if there are OTs listening right now who are interested in maybe they work with this population already, or maybe they know a cancer survivor who is struggling with workplace discrimination, what are the best maybe resources or places or pieces of advice you can give to someone who wants to help and needs that connection to something right now?
So I'd say just like educating survivors on their ADA rights. I feel like that was when I did my social media campaign, that was a very surprising thing. Like most people didn't know that stuff. and then just kind of helping them build those return to work plans that are tailored to like their fatigue and their energy levels because not each patient is going to present the same way. Like they'll all be in different stages. And then also just supporting their self-advocacy. Like I feel like that's a big part is because they're the ones in contact with their employer. So helping them have those self-advocacy skills is a very important thing. And then also you as an OT can reach out and maybe consult with any employers about like any ergonomic changes or flexibility or modified duties, as well as just that interprofessional collaboration and like collaborating with the oncology teams to understand the side effects that the survivors are facing.
Awesome. Did you find any continuing education or good websites or resources that OTs could use to maybe further their own education in this area?
I'd say a very beneficial one I found was Cancer and Careers. It has a lot of different areas you can look at. Like I found one that where there were videos of survivors who talked about balancing that work and career, and just those personal stories really help get insight into what's happening.
Awesome. And for listeners, we'll link that website in the show notes so that they can easily access that. Um, Great. If there was something you want people to take away from listening today, what would that be? What's like kind of the key takeaway? Or maybe in your social media campaign, what was the main point you wanted people to leave with?
I'd say just that understanding that this workplace discrimination isn't something that just affects that employment and that financial stability, that people, when they go to work, they can find like identity in this work and that provides them with that social connection and that dignity. And when they lose that, it can really affect their mental health and their well-being.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. Well, thank you for adding your voice to this. I want to shift a little bit and talk about what was the advocacy process like for you as a student? Had you ever done kind of this community level type of advocacy or use social media platform in this way to bring awareness to something?
So I've never really had much experience with like this advocacy. I feel like I've learned a lot since I started this OT program. And I don't know, I guess it was really scary at first because I'm like, oh, I don't want to like do all these big things, but it really doesn't have to be a super big thing. Like even if you just do a small action and reach a
Yeah.
couple people, that's greater than not doing anything at all.
Awesome. I think that's a really common experience. I know I having like interviewed several students about this is sometimes they're a little bit worried about what people within their social media circles will think about them posting information like this. Um, but generally the response is usually positive. What was engagement on your campaign like for you?
Yeah, so it was pretty good. I felt like I got more on the days where I had like polls rather than those open-ended questions, just probably because like it's easier just to click one thing than
Sure.
whatever. But I had some people like I did on Instagram, so they would like my stories, and I had some people slide up and say like, "Wow, that's crazy!" Like when I shared an example of a personal story,
Hmm.
that really got a lot of engagement, as well as
Yeah.
the like legal protections and those ADA rights that people didn't necessarily know existed.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So, what was the most challenging part of the project for you?
I'd say just kind of like dealing with the size of the issue and then kind of breaking that down into smaller steps in the steps of the campaign. Like, what should I include in these 5 days that's not like too overwhelming, but is like just enough to get my point across?
Yeah.
And I feel like it was also super hard because this issue involves like a lot of aspects like legal, social, and emotional, as well as those systemic barriers. So, like I
Hmm.
said, just trying to grapple with all those
Yeah.
barriers and what I should add.
Yeah. What was the best part for you?
I'd say just seeing that small difference that people, like some people actually like read through my slides and were like, that's awesome. And my mom would be like every day, she's like, when are you going to post your slide? And I
Yeah.
was like,
Awesome.
I'm not there yet, but just seeing that people saw that and have that thought in the back of their mind now moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so we talked a little bit about your capstone site, and this project did really directly tie into that or kind of come from that. Um, tell us a little bit more about your capstone project. What are you hoping to achieve when you're there? I know you just kind of finished your lit review and needs assessment, so there's still lots of planning to do, and it doesn't happen for a little while. But what's the direction of your capstone? Where does it look like it's going?
Okay, so I mentioned it was at the Sheboygan County Cancer Care Fund, and I'm kind of just focusing on creating educational resources for oncology nurses to help them confidently promote physical activity and wellness among the survivors. And I'm more so doing it to the nurses because I feel like me and my site advisor feel like they're more trusted professionals, as well as my site actually doesn't have an OT. So I'm
Sure.
kind of educating through them so that hopefully we'll have a greater adherence rate. So I'm
Awesome.
just kind of learning how important that movement is for restoring the confidence, rebuilding those routines, and then helping survivors re-engage in those meaningful occupations, including work, like I just
Yeah.
mentioned. So I'm kind of just hoping that these materials will give nurses those tools and confidence to start these kind of conversations earlier in the treatment so that the survivors can just stay active and be feeling good.
Love that. I love that. Okay, so my next question, I have two questions that I ask everybody before they leave our interview. And this can be related to what you've already been talking about, but it could be anything. So it doesn't have to be related to cancer care at all. So first question, what area of life or practice do you think OTs should have a bigger role in?
Okay, so I'm going to relate to my topic. So
Sure.
I think OTs should just have a bigger role in those cancer survivorship programs and those return to work services, as well as offering caregiver support when needed, because I feel like cancer survivors, when they're going through the hard times, do rely a lot on caregivers. So kind of instructing them on those things too as well as that community health and prevention, and then the mental health within this population as well, because cancer can be a very hard thing and
Yeah,
affect people greatly mentally.
absolutely. Awesome. Okay, and then last question. What current occupation brings you joy?
I'd say babysitting, getting to hang out with my little kiddos.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love it.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like the makings of a true peds therapist right there. So, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate it. I am so glad to hear about all the awesome work you're doing and can't wait to see how your capstone goes in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.